Okay, this
Can't really
one
see. You can't really see much of it, so it doesn't really.
or this one.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, you can see very little, so I
I
don't
mean, I
think it's
can
making
choose a
that big of a
different format
difference.
if you guys want.
Oh, there we
I'll
go.
go with the brighter options, I guess. Or darker?
I personally like this format. Okay, I'm recording. I see that we're live on YouTube now.
Anybody else
Can you move
is
your camera
brighter? I
down
guess
just
I'll
a
go
hair,
brighter.
Sean?
Yes.
Cool. Yep.
Good. All right. I saw you trying to move it around, so.
All right.
All right. I'm ready when all you guys are. Okay. What's up, Internet? You are listening to the Making Geeks podcast, a podcast for makers, dads, and geeks. This is episode 197.
What's going on?
What's up, gentlemen?
Hello.
Hey, there's a different voice.
This podcast is now 50% Wesley.
That's perfect.
And for all of our listeners out there, we have a very, very special guest today. We have Wesley Treat joining us. So we're very excited to have him on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We've talked about having you for quite a while now, and glad to finally be able to make it happen.
Awesome. Yeah, good to be here.
How often do you get that?
It's that we're doing this live
joke
on YouTube also.
What?
I have to pay attention to my face as well as my voice. It's unnerving.
Donovan, what were you saying?
Oh, I was asking him how often does he get the it's been a treat joke?
It's been a couple hours.
Okay.
He has like a little counter behind him. It's like it rips off, goes back to 0. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is kind of like an awesome showbiz name, just because it stands out and it's memorable too. So I'm hoping that's helped you in the long run.
I'm hoping it will help me in the long run as well.
So, what's everyone been up to this week?
I've been working on another video. It's kind of a spin-off of the Lego Nintendo video that I released, where I reviewed the Nintendo Lego set that they had come out, and I actually put the Raspberry Pi and the screen within the television set, and actually made a full video, like a step-by-step kind of guide of, if you've never used a Raspberry Pi before, this is a great intro project to have an excuse to get an awesome Lego set and or use Raspberry Pi at the same time. And I show like all the connections. I kind of do like a little diagramming and show you how to put the software on it. So there's not really a step I leave out, which I don't usually go into that much detail, but I figured it can be intimidating if you've never used it before. So I wanted to sort of demystify it as best I could, and I think it'll work. And it's also notable because it's my first sponsored video, so I'm waiting on approval from that sponsor to get back, so I'm excited about that.
Awesome.
That's great. Donovan, how about you?
I have been in a mad dash to get this video done for the Playhouse. I've got it down to 44 minutes. And I posted a picture on my Instagram stories today showing the timeline of the first 4 minutes of the video, which is, it's insane. It's insane. There are 5 video layers, there are 4 audio layers, and in some places they're full. There's so much going into this video. I don't know if I could ever do a project like this again, because it is so time consuming.
Are you gonna have to like outsource the rendering to a render farm for you?
I don't know. I tried rendering the first 4.5 minutes today, and it said it was going to take an hour and a half, which is a long time to wait for 4 minutes of video. But that's only because I've got my video layers, I've got my elements, I've got my adjustment layers, I've got my overlays, my grain, like everything like that, just all stacked on top of each other. And the more layers you have in your video, the longer it takes to render, because it has to add each layer to each frame that it renders, and there's a lot that goes into it, especially for my videos. So I'm hoping to have the video done by this weekend.
Nice.
All I'll need to do after that is just get the last couple shots, the outro, and the thumbnail, which I am trying to. I want to photograph it and edit it in a way to where it looks like the banner for Breath of the Wild, but instead of the mountain in the background, it's the playhouse, and instead of Link, it's me and my son dressed up in our costumes and swords and whatnot. I don't know how long it's going to take me to edit that picture, because I am not very good at Photoshop. But I'm hoping within the next week I will have this put out into the world. I'm also trying to finish the plans for it, which are insane in and of themselves, because I'm up to almost 100 pages. It's great.
They get their money's worth per page,
crazy.
though, right?
Oh yeah. Oh my. It's going to be a steal. How much they're going to get out of this?
You know, you might as well send that to a publisher so you can get a book deal out of it now.
To bind it, yeah.
A book. It is almost.
Yeah,
a book.
I wasn't joking. You said 100 pages. I meant what I said.
We, Derek from Square Splinter and I have actually talked about printing a limited edition that's bound and folded and colored to look exactly like the old Nintendo instruction manuals, and sell a hard copy as a limited edition run for the Playhouse plans. But it's gonna be thick.
And then you should have it shipped in like an old style Nintendo box
with the sleeve.
Yep.
Oh my gosh! Stop giving me ideas. This is my problem.
And then you should also.
I get cooler and cooler ideas, and then I'm like, I need to do this. I have to do this because it is so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the tough situations where you have this one chance to kind of do it right, and I know that's why you're taking so long with it. But don't forget to give us a heads up when it's come out so we can help you push it around.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, and I'm so proud of this. I'm sitting at my Star Wars desk. I am no longer sitting at a piece of plywood on top of two Star Warses. I officially have a desk, and it is.
So I guess you got the surface worked out then, huh?
Yeah.
So last time you were on here, you talked about sanding and scraping and all that stuff. So.
Mm-hmm. Every day at lunch break, I would come and I would scrape off layers and sand, scrape off more layers and sand. Finally it looks amazing. I made my own wood finish, and it turned out so good. I'm so happy. So happy. I got three projects done in the
That's
last
awesome.
week. I'm so.
Do the lights look extra good?
No content to show for it, but I got 3 projects out.
Do the lights look extra good now that the surface is all pretty? Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it.
All I need is I do the little sound effects every time I turn it on. Right now I'm going to do turn it on. Pew pew. It looks so cool, and the diffusion diffuses it just enough to where it looks like a laser blaster without having the
pixels.
The little,
nice.
Pixels. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, the underside of my desk, because there's a huge crack down the middle, and so I filled it with epoxy, and Wes built me this line of pixels and attached an Arduino to it and a battery pack, and so I'd flip a little switch on the underside of my desk, and it shoots lasers from the Millennium Falcon,
which are like your bow ties holding the crack together, right?
Fighter. Yeah, the TIE Fighter
That's
and
cool.
the TIE Interceptor that are my bow ties for the crack in this live edge desk, and it shoots lasers at them, and it is the coolest thing. I'm so excited, because right after my Playhouse video, this video is coming out probably.
That's awesome.
Within a week. So I've been busy.
And Wesley, how about you? Have you been working on any special projects this week?
I just got back to. I started something a year ago. It was a welding project, and it was so hot I decided it was just too hot to continue welding, so I put it aside for a little while. That turned into a year, and now I'm finally pulling it back out again. I'm doing some very large, heavy steel RPG dice, a full set, 7 dice, all at a 3/16 inch steel plate. So I'm having a lot of fun
Wow.
putting these together.
Wow.
Yes, they are quite heavy. I'm not even sure you could use them.
I'm not even thinking about the weight. I'm thinking about the sheer sound of when you would try to roll those. I think that's kind of like a really cool thing.
Yeah, I tried to do a presentation shot. I'm presenting each one of them. I weld one up, finish it, set it, show a shot of it. And I was going to roll them into the shot. Well, the first one, I started with the 6-sided, because that's the easiest one. And I tried rolling that across my bench into the shot and trying to aim into the shot of the key. So I had to do it like 30 times, and it beat the hell out of my bench. There's so many dents in this bench now. So I stopped doing that. But they are quite big. And I think I can show you guys. I don't know, will it show up?
If you hold it
on
up in
the
front of your
YouTube
face, I
thing?
think it'll work.
Well, I can do the. I
Oh, the
think I need
picture.
to
Yeah,
share
yeah, yeah.
screen.
Should work.
I don't know if this will work. Can you see
Let,
that?
let
Can you
me
guys see
uh,
that?
You
Yeah.
can see it.
Okay, yeah, that's
hold
the
on,
6-sided.
let me
that's
hold on, let me
beef.
fix the stream here
You
so
can
we can
see
see it. Because I'm gonna have
Okay.
to fudge it a little bit. Stand by.
Oh,
There you go.
okay. Yeah, that's the 6-sided. That's the first one I did. This is as far as I got a year ago.
So you're nice.
The 4-side.
So for
and the
those of you
8-side.
at home or listening in your car, you're missing out on all this great visual reference.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
And then I just finished this. This is where I got today. This is my 10-sided. So just imagine a very large, I don't know how, it's about 12 inches tip to tip, I guess that is. Something like that.
That's
3/16
it's a lot larger than I
steel.
thought it was going to be. That's awesome.
They're
Wow.
quite big. You can see my hand in this one. Yeah. So I got to do 2 of those because I'm doing your standard sets, the 2 10-sideds. And then I got to do the 12 and the 20, and I've had to set up some jigs, make some jigs to cut things out right, to get those kite shapes for the 10-sided. It's been an interesting problem-solving adventure. And of course, I'm still working on my Gonk Droid / beer cooler.
That
But that's a long
that
term
is
project.
turning out really nicely.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really cool. I love that you're utilizing almost kind of like an underrated character or like droid from the Star Wars franchise, but everybody recognizes it too. Everybody has seen it in the background and knows exactly what that thing is.
Yeah, for some reason, I mean, he only gets a few seconds of screen time, but for some reason, I think he's a. And I'm gonna add some nice electronics to it. Probably.
I thought he
get
was a
the
trash
safe
can.
can.
I feel bad now.
Yeah,
No, he's
You'd
a cool
make a fancy trash can. Like, it looks fantastic.
yeah.
What are you using for that one?
I'm building it from plywood. Yeah,
Plywood?
it's all scratch, and then I'm gonna seal it with some Total Boat probably, and then the top section is gonna be the beer cooler, and the bottom section, there'll be a little door in the side you can stick empties in. I was gonna take it to Maker's Camp. Unfortunately that got canceled, so I've got a little more time to spend some more. I can spend more time on some of the details.
That's awesome.
Give him some nice, blinking lights and things. So I'm gonna take my time with him.
I look forward to seeing it done and see the progress. It's really cool. So I've been up to not a whole lot. I still haven't built the enclosure for my little Arduino project. That's still kind of there staring at me in the face. But since it is officially October now, my wife and I kind of got in the mood to want to change our settings a little bit and make it seem like the seasons are actually changing, even though it was still 102 here today. So we started decorating for Halloween. I've been trying to cut a new item on the laser every day just to kind of, keep making something every day. So I was doing some, Nightmare Before Christmas cutouts and other things, and just trying to change our environment a little bit and take our minds off some other more social issues going on. So that's been my week so far. So since we have a special guest on the show today, I'd like to hear a little bit about you, Wesley, for all of our listeners who may not know a lot of the things that you do and all the cool things that you make. So, go ahead and give us kind of like a little bit of a tour of who you are and what you do.
Oh goodness, trying to summarize myself.
We could do the long version too. It doesn't have to be a summary.
Yeah. Well, this is the is an issue I had at Workbench Con several months ago, where Wes and I roomed together, the room full of Wes, and trying to get my elevator pitch together. I never could figure out how to summarize exactly what I do. I do a lot of I started my early projects were signage. I have a thing for old roadside signage, the motel signs and things. So I work in neon signs, doing metal work, old classic stuff like that, retro signage. But I also do a lot of geeky projects, I suppose. A lot of I don't know what it's I'm a generalist, so I never know. I have no area of concentration, so it's kind of hard to say exactly what I do. I get interesting ideas and I kind of run with them. I just did my last video that came out was just I made a hex cap bolt from scratch from some aluminum rod that I made into sort of a secret safe for my keychain, so you could screw the head off and put it. And I, by the way, I have no idea. I still cannot figure out which videos are gonna do well, because this was just kind of a side project that I was just kind of doing for myself to see if I could do it, because I have no machinist. Something you would traditionally do with a machine lathe. Yeah. But I don't have one. So I wanted to figure out how I could do it, how to hollow it out and everything. This video in 2 weeks has done like
people seem to love like secret stuff. It seems like secret and kind of things that look like they're small but they're really big, or things that are big and really small. They love like scale flip kind of stuff. It seems like
yeah. No, hopefully
I
like
think
the
so.
Dice then. So, but yeah, I thought the Gonk-Droid. I figured Gonk-Droid, Star Wars. People love Star Wars, right? That one didn't do as well. So I have no idea, but that's a good like range of things that I do. The Gonk-Droid and a pill bottle, just whatever pops into my head. I made some Sputniks, those old crazy lights that used to be on the old signage, and I'm talking with a guy now about doing it's sort of I'm sure you guys remember those, the sort of the what were they, the testers, the little arcade thing, you squeeze the handle and it'll tell you how
strong you are.
The sex appeal tester or whatever, but it's sort of I do a lot of work for this drive-in movie theater in upstate New York, not far from Jimmy's place, and I do a lot of signs for them and things, and they just opened up like a coffee bar deal called Good Boys Coffee, and they've got like a saints and sinners theme kind of thing going on. And so I can't remember if I came up with the idea or not, but I'm going to do sort of a tester. You stand in front of this, this thing. It'll have a neon deal behind you. Put your hands on this sphere, and have a little light sound show, and then it'll like randomly light up behind you in neon, either horns or a halo kind of thing.
That is really cool. That is awesome.
And I don't know if that's going to happen yet or not. We're talking about it, negotiating the details and things. So, those are the sorts of things that I do. Just, I get bored easily. So, I don't like just doing the same sort of thing all the time.
So being that you're in Texas, right? How's the shipping work for those types of items so far away? Like, have you had anything damaged in transit, or like Have you been doing it so long? You have like a special way to do it? It's kind of foolproof or what?
I have, yeah, doing. I had to
Hmm.
learn early on because I when I first started really doing this as a business, I was selling like some sort of. I had some standard sign designs that I sold on Etsy, like no vacancy signs, pool signs. I sold a lot of those, real pool houses, that sort of thing. And I learned how to ship neon glass. It was a little trial and error there at first. I had a few, you know, breakage
Hmm.
incidents, but so yeah, the neon gets packaged very specially, often gets crated, and with this guy, it's he's one of my long-term clients, so he knows I don't have to like negotiate all the shipping up front. He knows that's coming. And so it just, depending on what it is, you know, I'll crate it up. Sometimes I can fit stuff in cardboard boxes and ship it out UPS. Larger stuff, I'll get on like U-Ship and get somebody to
Hmm.
bid on it. The last set of things I sent him, I did this large Art Deco spire with, you know, neon on it and things, and like 4 other signs. He kept adding stuff to the order, so stuff kept piling up in my workshop. So finally, we did these Good Boys coffee signs, and we kind of wrapped it up and just got a guy just, you know, it's a, you know, private shipper who bids on the items and loads everything up, and you know, he door to door
Wow.
takes it, you know, and I don't have to worry about it. So it depends on what the orders are. I've driven stuff out myself. I've done some work for this cannabis cafe out in LA, and I drove a couple things out there to them once. So yeah, it's you have to play it by ear. It just depends on the
Hmm.
circumstance, and luckily I've got some really good clients. I've been able to narrow down, you know, which clients I can take, um, and you know, these guys are really good to work with. So
Yeah,
did I
absolutely.
answer the question? I forget.
Yeah, absolutely. I just find that kind of interesting. More of the behind the scenes stuff that I don't really even think about. You know, my limit is usually UPS or um, the post office, so I'm not really familiar with like freight shipping
Yeah,
kind of setups and everything. So it's kind of interesting to me.
yeah, freight. Yeah, freight is its own beast. I've done that
Hmm.
once or twice. For those who don't know, once you get over a certain size, um, it has to go it has to go freight, which is not just the UPS guy picking it up. You know, it has to. You may have to have a lift gate, and it goes in a semi, and there's all these
Huh.
classifications of things depending on what's in it, and all, yeah, it's so confusing. So doing it the U-ship way, which is a what I don't I forget if I explained it. It's you go on and you like basically it's like eBay, but people bid on
Hmm.
shipping it. There was a TV show about it, the Shipping Wars, at one point.
I remember
They
Oh
seeing
bid,
that.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
they bid on these shipments, and then a guy just shows up
Huh.
and loads it up and takes it. So, um, yeah, the logistics, it's not my
Yeah.
favorite part of doing all of this. Um, one of my clients has been really good. I was doing, it was that same cannabis company. Uh, I was converting these old 50s candy machines. I worked with them. They had a designer who would create these wonderful designs, these graphics that would go on the machines, and we were converting them to look like they were old machines, as if you could, you know, buy weed out of a machine back in the 50s. And so it was my job to, you know, to apply all these graphics and make it
You
look
had a video on this,
vintage.
right?
You know,
Yeah, or something
yeah, I've done
similar. Yeah.
a couple of them, I think.
Uh,
Yeah, one of them. Yeah, I did a full video on one of them.
That's cool.
Um, and you know, put some lights in the display that kind of flicker, making it look like it's going out and that sort of thing. And they were real good about it because they bought the machines and then would just ship me the machines, and then a few weeks later go, okay, we got the design, and I'd work with them on making it happen, and then I just got to clean these
Right. You
machines
found some weird
out. By
stuff
the
in
way,
them,
yeah,
right?
these machines
Yeah.
were, yeah, they were. I found because I learned to really I had to gut them, like completely take all the guts out because like candy bars would fall back behind the thing. Like 30 years ago, and I was able to track down where a couple of these came from because they'd have the little like a little ID thing on the inside, like their license, and I'd find out that they were from some very seedy motel in the Midwest, and I'd find one of them. I was able to do some research on it and found out that it burned down about 10 years ago
Oh,
due to
wow.
arson. Yeah, so.
Did you ever
So
find anything unexpected in one of them?
not particularly. I opened up like the bottom half of them is like a storage in these machines, so it's got a door that comes off, and I opened one up and I found like all kinds of paperwork and like a notebook full of like how many of which
It's like a
candy
little
bars
time
they
capsule.
sold,
Yeah.
and yeah. So I mean, it's kind of fun going through that and and seeing something that hasn't. Oh, and there were this one was a cigarette machine, and so there were about 9 packs of extremely old cigarettes,
That could
which
probably
was
go
not a
pretty good on
pleasant
eBay.
smell. So it's there. Those were fun to work on. I still got one, of course, because of the pandemic and everything. They've had to scale back. They had to close down for a while. I've still got one of their candy machines in the back corner of my shop that I've been hanging on to. So I'm not sure how that's going to work out, whether I'm going to get back to that or not. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I got off track. Yeah.
No,
You're
that's
asking
fine.
about
You
logistics.
covered it.
But yeah, they would buy, yeah, they'd buy the machine, send me the machine, and
Yeah.
I'd do the whole thing, and then they would arrange for pickup. So with them, I never had to handle any of that, which was beautiful. It was a dream to me. I could just do the creative work. So they're my favorite clients.
Nice.
Very cool.
Oh,
I don't know if that
yeah,
covers.
definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like an expert now.
Yeah, here on the podcast, answers are always, tangential.
That's what makes it fun, right? Yeah.
Oh,
The conversation just goes where it does.
so yeah. To summarize, I do things.
So before we started recording, we were talking about talking about the idea of like motivation is almost like kind of the driving force for the conversation. And you mentioned before that you get bored really easily
Yes.
in some of the things that you do. And I think I could kind of see that a little bit because your videos are very different from one another. I mean, there's some common threads, but you do a lot of just different things that aren't always related to each other. So kind of wondering, like, do you have a certain motivation or a place where you get ideas and like inspiration to do these different builds?
I get ideas from various. I try to keep my eyes open, whatever I'm doing. Watching TV or just seeing other people's projects, or I just think of a thing that hey, I want to build a boat, and then I can't help but think, all right, but how do I, what twist on that? What kind of twist can I present? I'll just put the boat in the back of my head, and then just let other things seep in, and if anything kind of connects, and think, okay, that's a good idea, and then jot it down in my little to-do list, which is extremely long at this point. So it's my sources for ideas are varied. That's why, I guess that's why my projects are so varied. But yeah, I do. Yeah, my video. I guess I think by this point I've got an editing style kind of nailed down, but the content of the videos, and I guess the humor will differ from from video to video. Sometimes it just depends on what mood I'm in that week. Other times it's whether I've thought of a particular joke I want to kind of shoehorn in there and how can I lead up to it.
Yeah.
I referenced my last time I referenced a show, and virtually nobody got this. I referenced an old kids show from the 70s called Giggle Snort Hotel. Anybody?
No.
No?
No,
Not
sorry, I missed.
not a single person. Okay.
I missed
Well,
that
it originated in Chicago. I know it showed in Chicago, probably somewhere in the Midwest, and somehow it also showed in Dallas. I don't know where else it may have shown, but yeah, like two people who saw my video actually got that reference. And I did a whole thing there was a character on there called Blob. He was a mound of clay, and the host of the show, he would do a whole thing. Go look it up on YouTube. Look up Blob Giggle Snort Hotel. He would interact with him and like dress up. He would like change the shape of his face and put like glasses or a bow tie on this thing of clay. And Blob couldn't actually speak per se. He would just make sounds, vocal noises. And that's kind of how I started off my video, where I was just doing I couldn't find a thing that fit.
I heard that.
Yeah.
I was wondering where that was coming from.
Yeah, and so it led up to this Giggle Snort reference. Of course, well, I figured I love references that
Me
not
too.
many people will
Yeah.
get. I didn't anticipate how few people.
You feel they have to earn it to be like a
But I did
legit
get quite a
reference,
few
yeah.
complaints.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
it's like my own little
Yeah.
MST reference. Get about half of them. But yeah, I had a number of commenters who were very annoyed at my vocal noises.
Honestly, I was disappointed that it didn't keep going the whole thing, because I didn't really get the reference. But then when you stopped it, because I was like laughing more each time, and then when you stopped doing it, I was like, "Aw." But
See, at first I thought it was kind of like a Tim Allen type of
Oh.
but there was something different about it, so I couldn't place what the reasoning for it was.
Yeah, if anybody anybody who's listening to this who saw the video, go on YouTube and Google Giggle Snort Hotel Blob gets ready for a date. And you can see what I was referencing. So so just depending on whatever strange reference pops into my head, that I may just do a running gag just based on that.
that's awesome. Let's see. As far as motivation for myself, I would say one thing that helps me a lot, that I kind of get inspired by, is just kind of making lists of project ideas. And when I do that, I find that not only does it kind of clear my head, because I kind of get distracted by other thoughts. Like while I'm working on a project, I have other interesting parts of other projects that are like lingering that I haven't like worked out yet. They'll just kind of fester in my brain and sort of fight for attention from the thing that I'm working on. So I find if I have a list that I can like purge that out on, and maybe even do like some expanded outline stuff for each project, kind of like detail what the project's made out of, or what new technique or new material I use that's like inspiration to why I want to do that specific thing or make that thing, like what I'll learn out of it. And I'll kind of just write down materials and just different things like that. And it sort of allows my brain to free up those CPU cycles so I can actually focus on what I need to focus on.
Right.
And I also kind of get a lot of pop culture inspiration from old media, like I said, like old television shows and things. Especially, I get even more excited if I don't see a lot of people doing things from them, like, for instance, Gummy Bears or some other DuckTales references or some other cartoons and things where a lot of people know of the property, but they haven't like thought of it in a certain way or with a certain material, or one of the things that are featured in the show, no one's made a real thing of it. So that is very inspiring. I just want to, it's sort of like a cosplay kind of prop maker spin on it, which is not totally unique, but if I see a lot of people doing them, I'm even way less inspired to even think about it, like lightsabers and like Iron Man masks and all that sort of stuff. I have like next to no interest to make one. Besides, I mean, I enjoy the properties, but I don't know. I just like kind of like the uniqueness, and that's a big driving factor. If that has not been apparent
Yeah,
yet,
you
that
think.
I like to do that. So,
Yeah, you think what? Yeah, what
hmm
aspect of this genre hasn't somebody not
yeah.
done yet?
When I worked on a Gears of War game, Gears of War 3 for Xbox a couple, like it's like 10 years ago now. They had the anniversary. But there was a character in there that had a really elaborate kind of suit that it wore. It was almost like a hedgehog or something. It had like metal spikes that ran down the back of its entire body, and it was like super armored and had like these big blasters and had like this crazy face that had like a tongue that would like hang out, and it was really interesting looking. And I was like super motivated to like 3D print every little piece and make molds and do all these different things. And then I saw someone make one, the only person I've seen ever make one, and I felt like I got hit by a truck because I was like so excited to do this thing that no one is like focused on. And then all the inspiration kind of just went out like an air out of a balloon. Had the sound effect in the back of my head and everything. And like I still want to make it because it's not as prevalent as some of the other costumes and other things that you might see out there in that realm. But then people are gonna be like, "Oh, that looks
Right.
like the other thing that the guy did," And I don't want to have that comparison. I'd more like to do the original thing.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
yeah. I try to when I get a really good idea, I'm real
Yeah,
hesitant to talk about it to anybody
yeah,
until I get started. that
yeah,
that same reason.
Yeah, motivation for me is like this weird moving target that I try to hit. I get excited by things on a daily basis. I see things on Instagram, I hear about things, I watch YouTube videos, and I get excited about a lot. But I try to refrain from like hurrying up and trying to do something similar, almost like Wes was saying with there being like so many Iron Man helmets out there and other things. I don't want to just jump on the bandwagon, even though I love to
yep,
have the object. It's not something I see myself dedicating that time to figure out how to do it and then create it. I try to gauge things a little bit differently, where I'll get an idea and I'll get some sort of like reference of an idea in my head, and I'll let it kind of like sit there for a while. If I'm still passionate about it, in like a week or two, then I take that next step and start making sketches and plans and drawing things out. The latest example of that is a sign that I made. I talked about this on last week's show that's at Disneyland, and I've been thinking about that sign for over a month. The phrase speaks to me. I like the look of the sign. I don't create a whole lot of signs, so it's something that I planned in my head, and then last week I got around to doing it, and now I have the sign, and I'm a lot happier with that because it was something that I put enough thought and energy into. It wasn't just kind of a reaction to something, but something that it probably holds a little more weight for me. Um, and I think motivation, happens in a couple of different ways too. So if I'm making something because I want to produce a lot of them and sell them, I think that's kind of like a different category of something that I'm more passionate about too. So like I said, motivation is like this moving target that is, constantly changing depending on what it is that I'm thinking about.
I'm always motivated to start projects because I get ideas all the time. Or somebody will say something like Sean and give me an idea to do something, and then I'll just want to do it. And then for most of the projects that I work on, I find out that I don't know what I'm doing, so I tend to be less motivated to finish it, but I still want to finish it because I want to get it done and out of my head and out into the world so I can move on to the next thing. So then I have to motivate myself to figure out what the heck I'm actually doing so that I can finish it, so that I can move on to the next thing that I'm excited about. Cuz I'm like Wesley, like my brain is just weird. That whole how do I put a spin on it is everything in my
Yeah,
head.
it's a dangerous thing to start because you always want to, like, if you can't think of the spin, you think it's going to be
boring.
it's
Yeah,
not going to be
hmm
interesting enough for a video.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's something I've kind of struggled with to, it's okay just to just to make a little boat. It doesn't have to be a boat that
Yeah,
transforms into
I
something.
can relate to that for sure.
Yeah, I now that I've got my laser cutter up and running, I've been making these little placards. At Walmart, there's like pre-made rustic blank signs that you can get for like $2, and they're not very big. And so I've been buying a couple and bringing them home and taping them off and carving different designs into them, painting them, and trying out different things. Partly to see if I can sell them, and partly just have practice on the laser cutter. And my wife is like, "You want to make a video of that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's so boring." Like, I wouldn't even want to watch a video on this. But then I thought about it, and I'm like, I wasn't gonna make a video of the Ninjago sword, because I'm like, no, this is boring. All it is a little piece of 2x4 that's carved into a sword to look like a Lego sword. That's not exciting at all. And look how that turned out. So I don't know. Maybe I'll I'll be making easy Walmart Halloween.
How many views is that? How many views is that video up to now?
1.5 million.
Just 1.5 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's impossible to tell what's going to catch on.
Yeah, everything that I did before that, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's gonna go. People are gonna love this. No. And then I'm like, oh, I'll just make this video as a one-off. Nothing's ever gonna come of it.
Yep.
To this day, I still get like 10 comments a day on all of my other videos. Hey, when are you gonna make this next Lego Ninjago weapon? What about the elemental blades? What about this, that, or the other? I'm like,
hey, at least you get comments.
On the list. I know. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to rub it in.
You have to get that resolved someday, man. I don't know what's up with that.
I'm enjoying it while I have it, because with my kids being featured more and more in my videos, I'm like, well, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah. All right. That's another source of motivation, both good and bad, is the YouTube comments section. I got a long-running gag out of that once. Somebody complained that they didn't like the sound of my table saw. As if I could do something about that. Well, I did. Just as a joke, I thought, well, let me replace it with something. And I don't remember why I came up with this, but I replaced it with the Jetsons car sound.
Oh, that is great. That is awesome.
And it stuck, and people loved it. And so I did it for a few videos, and then after a while, people were like, "Okay, joke's done. Enough with the Jetsons." Well, that just motivated me to keep doing it. So eventually, and there was one at some point. I started messing with them where I turned it on, and it was like regular saw sound, and I would like hit it, knock again, make a little knock sound, like, and then the Jetsons thing kicked in again, and so well, keep going with this. But eventually, I just stopped doing it, and I still get months ago. I stopped months ago. I still get comments from people going, "Hey, your table saw didn't sound right. What happened to the Jetsons thing?" So either way, I get comments either way. But yeah, sometimes I'll do stuff just for the trolls, and I find myself anticipating what people are gonna complain about, and sometimes that takes up too much of my brain energy as I'm trying to make a video. Like, okay, wait, if I don't show this, people are gonna complain about that, so I'd better, let me back up and explain this better, or I'm gonna have to explain why I didn't do this instead of that. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to go through all the comments, and it's a source of motivation that I should ignore sometimes, because it does slow me down. But
it's like a little character with the troll face sitting on your shoulder, just like, hey.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I started working in my troll voice into I anticipate some of the comments I'm going to get. And just,
Head them off at the pass. Yeah.
I do it for them. Yeah.
When you think about like the entertaining value of your videos, is that something that you think about while you're making the project, or does that come up more in the post production process?
I think about it a lot while I'm doing it. It takes me, it at least doubles, maybe triples the time I have to spend on a project, just because I'm thinking through, because I'm doing two projects at once. You know, it's the thing that I'm working on, and I'm trying to present it, because I don't do a lot of verbal explanation in my videos. I like the challenge of telling the story visually. So I have to think through which shots I need to include and which shots I can leave out that I don't have to, spend time on, and trying to, like today I was cutting out just these little angle jigs to make that 10-sided die to hold the pieces at the right angle. I had to cut some things out and put magnets on them and trying to, fit that in and explain what that thing is, and the fact that there are going to be ones with different angles just by, doing them all on the CNC at one time, and then just writing D10 on this one and D12 on that one. And they, trying to visually explain as simply as possible everything that's going to come up in the next 5 minutes, that, so people aren't confused.
Sure.
If I'm making sense. So yeah, that I think about that a lot as I'm actually shooting the video. And then I can, really simplify it as much as I can in editing. But of course, if I don't have that shot, the transitions from one thing to the next, then, that's an extra 2 hours of editing trying to figure out how to make that work. So it's, yeah.
You just described my life right now.
Yeah. And some videos are easier than others. When a project is very linear, when it's very, one step to the next, it can be a little easier, because then I'm thinking linearly. But, like when I've got to, set something in epoxy over here, well, I got to leave that for a few hours. What can I do now? But I got to make sure I've got my transitions filmed correctly. I have actually, on some of the more complicated ones, I've sat down and written out an outline to make sure I get everything I need. But I find that can also, and then I'm rewriting the outline.
Your video anyway. That I remember that comes to mind, was it this Suicide Girls sign or something, where you had to do like lots of layering for the masking and and then you like said that you made an outline and you're like, I still made a mistake. You're like,
yeah, I didn't follow my outline. Yeah, I skipped one of the colors.
Man, because you have to think like backwards and like what's going to be remaining and all that, and I was like starting to get a headache as I was watching it, not in a bad way, but just like having to think about how much you had to think about that gave me a headache. It's one of my favorite videos, but it's just like, wow, okay.
Yeah, you're talking about the
yeah, exactly.
That's as a matter of fact, and I'm going to plug something. I did a tutorial for Make Magazine that's coming out, where I show like some basics of doing that kind of layered paint masking. I think they might be publishing that on their website first for
that's awesome.
This month. So keep a lookout for that.
That's great.
So when you guys are not motivated, how do you restart? How do you jump that train back on the tracks, so to speak? Is there a certain thing you do when all the things have not worked? Like, do you? Yeah.
I was going to ask that too, because like Donovan was talking about, I have the same problem where I get an idea for a project, and now I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a good idea. This is going to be a good one, and I get excited. I'm motivated to start. And okay, let me solve these problems. And problem solving is one of my favorite parts of a project. trying to figure out how I'm going to accomplish X and Y, what I'm going to need. And, that motivates me. But then once you get into the project, now I got to do the work.
Right.
And that's one of those. And I think most of us suffer from that, at least to some degree. So that's a good subject to talk about. How do you overcome that lull in the middle?
So for me, I know it's I go through like these cycles where I'll go through a period of time where I feel like I can't stop making, I can't make enough, and I want to spend every spare minute I have in the shop making something. And there's others where I don't feel like doing anything, and it's never for lack of ideas, because I have 30, 40 ideas and written in a book, and I know that any one of those would probably be halfway decent to at least start looking at and pursuing and start designing. A lot of times I'll start cleaning, because I'll look at my shop, or I have things on my table saw, and it's a detractor every single time. Like, I have to move this, I have to move that stuff out of the way to start working. But I'll start with sweeping. I'll start with something really simple, and then I'll start putting things away. And then a day or two, I have a clean surface, and then before I know it, I'm cutting a couple pieces of wood, or and just the process kind of snowballs from there. And I know it's a cycle that I work in, and it's almost in every facet that I do, whether it's in the digital work that I do, whether it's something I do for my regular day job. I know I work through this cycle, and I've been doing this long enough that I kind of understand and recognize my own process, and I kind of just have to let that time pass and filter through, and then it'll come back around.
It's funny, it's funny you brought that up, because that was what I was thinking in my head. That was my example as well when I was proposing that kind of idea. So I completely relate to that.
And the one thing that's changed that process and has interrupted that process for me is that, I've been getting companies asking me to do videos for them based on their products, and that is a different process, because I usually have a timeline, I have a different expectation. I'm not making all the rules on it, and it's not as fulfilling a lot of times. It can be, but it hasn't been the same level of fulfillment as if it's something that I'm starting something from scratch that's all from me. So I have to modify that process a little bit about staying motivated when doing something for somebody else. I haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah, deadlines can be a motivator, but they don't always. Yeah, they who was it who said I love deadlines, especially the whooshing sound they make as they go by?
That is great. That is great.
Maybe someone in the chat can remind me who said that. An author, I believe.
Dave Barry?
It may have been Douglas Adams, but I could very well be wrong about that. Yeah, I'll do you're talking about sweeping to get started. I've learned, I know a lot of people they work through the day, they get to the end of the day, and they clean up because they like to start with a clean shop. I do exactly the opposite. I leave everything out. I work until I'm done. Go home, eat something. I come back, because I'm not a morning person at all. It takes me a long time to get started. Got to have my coffee and my second coffee, and go out in the shop, and I, get out, Instagram for a little while, and all right, let me put these drill bits away, and then I just start putting things away, and now my body's moving. I'm getting things are clearing up, things are looking organized now, and that gets me started on the actual build.
It reminds me of this one talk. I think it was a talk that Adam Savage did. It might have been a Maker Faire, or it could have been from his book. I don't remember what it was verbatim, but something along the lines of, there are almost like two people that work in your shop, like your present self and your future self. And like if you, don't, this is obviously, but it's obvious, but like if you don't clean up after yourself and clean things and prepare things to like pass it off to your future self is going to be pissed off at your past self for not getting it squared away, right? So it's sort of like you're doing.
Right. My future
I know, yeah.
My past self.
But I thought that was kind of an interesting way to think about it. Like you're just kind of like a time traveler, like helping the next guy. It's kind of interesting.
Man, I have the kind of opposite problem is that I have so little time to work in the shop and to work on stuff that I have to take advantage of every minute because most days I have 15 minutes at most to work on things. And so if I don't utilize that 15 minutes, I don't get stuff done. So I guess that constraint is very motivating, although aggravating because I always wish I had more time. But for me, like coming from a film background, anytime I want to be motivated, since my style is to try and match the property of the product of the project that I'm working on. I find motivation in consuming the thing that I'm trying, the world that I'm trying to make something out of. And so it's like playing Breath of the Wild while we were building the Breath of the Wild Playhouse, and trying to figure out, okay, how are we gonna make the video feel like it's part of the game? Or right now I'm trying to do the pre-production. I'm trying to do all the prep work for the Under the Stairs secret Hobbit hole cubby that I'm going to be making. And so like consuming The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings and behind the scenes, because I don't, just the way my brain works is watching movies that inspire me help to inspire me to want to make something as cool as that movie that I just watched. I was like, I want to make something that's that cool, and that really inspires me to go out and to want to make something so I can make a video of it that hopefully looks cool.
Donovan, in like a year or two, you're gonna be able to divide your house up into like different lands. Like your backyard is Breath of the Wild, Under the Stairs is Lord of the Rings.
I know. We said, it's like, man, whenever we sell this house, a geek has to buy this house. Otherwise, there's going to be so many things that they're like, what is this?
Your realtor's going to have a field day, yeah.
It's going to be that. It's going to be that like that viral house that went around a couple months ago. That was all like there was a castle section on the inside. Did you guys see that? It was like a realtor listing. It was the most bizarre house. Like, yeah, like one room had like this castle theme to it, and another room was like the inside of a space station. It was some creative weird guy, and they were trying to sell the house as is. Yeah.
That'll be my house as is.
Well, if you ever have to sell that house, I think you should call up like one of those TV shows, like Real Realtors of Oklahoma or something, and have them feature it.
That's a show I want to see.
So we're coming up on about that time. So I hope you guys got your picks ready for the week of what you're geeking out about this week.
Well, I was geeking out about it last week, but I think we failed to mention it, or I failed to bring it up for myself. Did we mention WandaVision trailer?
No, we forgot.
Yeah.
Somebody called us on the chat. Yeah, I forgot.
Because I totally was geeking out about that.
No.
And yeah, I'm really excited about that series, especially since it's coming out this year. It's nice to have some new properties to look forward to.
Yeah,
it looks so refreshing. It looks so different than other stuff.
It looks odd and weird, and I look forward to something that isn't just cookie cutter. So I think it's cool too.
I think I've watched like every breakdown of like frame by frame analysis of that trailer to like extract and theorize and get all the like New Rockstars is like one of my favorite channels because the guy, you love him or hate him because his personality can be a little bit grating sometimes when he starts doing his like sponsored bits. But that aside, like he goes into like the very good minutia, the stuff that like the geeks kind of salivate over, of all the different comic references, and he really goes into a lot of depth as far as like symbology and things that even I would not pick up on had he not mentioned it. So it's a good one to check out.
I am geeking out about a video that got released on YouTube. It's an inside Industrial Light and Magic video that shows the making of the physical model of the Razor Crest from The Mandalorian. And it's a 20-minute behind the scenes of showing them build the actual physical model the rail system that they had the camera fly by on, and using essentially 35-year-old technology to do the shot for a modern show, and how excited
Really?
everybody got for being able to do all this. And it was incredible. And I mean, we all like making in the physical world, and I know we make in the digital world too, but it's something about the physical that is always more satisfying, because it's something you can look at, walk around, and physically hold. And it was just incredible to see that process. I wish that they had a really good behind the scenes of like making like the Millennium Falcon in the 1970s in that process. I would watch all of those things, and it's cool seeing them bring that back when they don't have to. We have the means to do perfect reproductions in digital, but there's something still different in that process, and just it was really cool. I highly recommend seeing it.
It's interesting
Checking it
because
out.
that very show, they were very groundbreaking with the new technology that they developed using Unreal Engine and things.
Oh yeah.
So it's interesting they have like such a
We talked about that.
switch of kind of tech for that. That's neat.
Yep.
Donovan?
Donovan, you had a very interesting look on your face a couple of minutes ago.
No, when you were talking about the WandaVision, I totally forgot. I have that comic series, like Vision and Wanda, the old green-red with the green-red cover and them hugging and the whole, like I have that series, and I totally forgot that I did because it's been so long since I've read it. Wow, the things you forget. I'm geeking out about camera stuff. Sony and Canon, Hasselblad, and a lot of other camera manufacturers have released a lot of new tech within the last week that looks really cool. A lot of it I'll probably never shoot on or never want to shoot on, but there are a couple things that I'm really interested in looking into. I used to shoot on a Red that I bought when I was in the film industry, and then I downsized from that to a Canon cinema camera, and then I downsized from that to a little Canon C100, not C100, but an M50. So like all my videos are shot on this little camera right now, and there's so much more that I want to do that is a little bit beyond the capabilities of this camera, and so I've been contemplating what direction I want to go next. And some of the cameras that have come out within the last week have been really expensive, but really cool looking. And so maybe one day. But I've been geeking out about camera gear because I hate to admit that I'm a gearhead, but yeah, I'm kind of a gearhead when it comes to stuff like that.
How about you? Yeah.
And Wesley.
Oh, me. I'm usually what usually takes over my brain at any given time is whatever project I'm excited about working on. So I'm kind of geeking out about Jacob's Ladders. Halloween is coming up, and I've always wanted to make one of these. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's any Frankenstein movie. It's that bzzz thing, with the two rods and the electricity going up between them, and there's a lot of videos on YouTube about how you make one. You usually make one out of a neon transformer, and of course I've got a couple of those lying around. And but it's usually just, here you go, put a neon transformer, hook it up, a couple of wires, hey, it works. I haven't seen anybody build like a real nice one, so I'm gonna make like a nice cabinet. I'm hoping to find like a big glass tube and just do it all up nice. So I'm kind of geeking out about researching how to make this happen, how to make it look maybe a little Victorian. Yeah. So
all I need to do is figure out how to program it to where it can play songs.
Huh.
Kind of like, what movie was that? The Magician's Assistant? Is that the movie where he learned how to play like Coldplay on the Tesla coils?
I don't remember.
Oh yeah, I've seen that sort of thing with the Tesla coil. Yeah. Oh, there's another thing.
Yeah.
I gotta write that down.
Is it a Van de Graaff generator? Is that the other? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is that, am I mixing up references? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. I've got the
Yeah.
hair for the Van
There you go.
generator.
You need to
Got
do that
that
before you
on
cut
right
it then, huh?
now. Yeah. That's going away soon. It is about time.
Well, speaking about time, it's that time to talk about our website and where you can get more information about the show and send us some direct messaging. So at makinggeeks.com, we are still in the process of revamping the site, but the information is there. You just might have to dig past the first page, a little bit different than the past. And there's still the contact page that's available. So if you need to message any of us directly, if you have any suggestions for the show, you can do that right there at makinggeeks.com.
And we're still all on social media. And we have episode 200 coming up. We're so excited about it. If you have ideas of what we might be doing, have any guesses, whatnot, come hit us up. Sean could be found at Geek Builders. Wes is found at Geeksmithing. Wesley is found at
WesleyTreat.com. If that's too long.
WesleyTreat.com.
I just registered WTreat.com. Couldn't believe that was available.
So find
And
him
Wesley_treat at Instagram. I need to get those Instagram followers to start ticking.
Are you on TikTok too?
I am not. No.
Okay.
I don't think any of you will be on TikTok soon.
I'm on TikTok. So if you're on TikTok too, or on Instagram, wherever, come find me at Once Upon a Workbench.
And like,
Thank you guys
Absolutely.
for having me, by the way. Yeah, this was amazing.
let's also thank our patrons over at patreon.com/makinggeeks for helping keep the lights on here at the show with their contributions every time we release an episode, including our top patrons, Square Splinter, Jordan Rimple, and Clinton from C3D Prop Shop. Thank you guys so much for your support. We appreciate you. And yes,
Oh, I want to say hi. I want to say hi to Clinton, by the way. Hi, Clinton. Who I've also shared a room with.
we're not afraid to get personal here.
Yeah.
Nope, not at all. And we like to thank everybody that decided, or not decided, but everybody that was hanging out in the live chat.
Oh wait,
I
that
think
made
they
sense.
decided
I don't know.
to hang out
I don't know
with
if that
us.
was in the pre-show or not. That Wes and I were roommates at a couple of these, like at Maker Faire.
No.
Now that should make sense.
Back it up
Okay.
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
we talked about the room
Clinton-
full of Wes.
The rooming with Clinton thing makes it's mind.
See the things people miss out on when there's no Maker Faire?
We
Yeah.
shared a house. Some of us, yes.
You may or may not have been abducted by
Welcome to
some,
Biggest
you know,
Podcast,
folks in the street,
where we
right?
explain our jokes.
Some fortune cookie factory
Oh,
kind of
oh.
antics. Yeah, I mean, just
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
another whole. Is there an after show?
there should be. There should be.
Talk about that trip to San Francisco and the firefighters who busted into my apartment the other day. I totally forgot to talk about that.
Maybe we'll do that
There
next
you
time,
go.
Patreon supporters.
Yeah.
Well, once again, we'd like to thank everybody that was hanging out with us in the live chat. It always makes the show a little bit more enjoyable, aside from having live guests on the show as well, contributing a little bit more to the show and just kind of enjoying and hanging out and having a good time. You can find new episodes of the show every Saturday morning on your favorite podcast player of choice. And from all of us to all of you, have
Yeah,
a
man.
fantastic
Thanks,
week.
Wesley.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.